Hi there, greetings and salutations. My name is Jake Query. That is a much better version of Derek Schultz. This is
much
Query
bigger
and Schultz
version
on the ISC Sports Network. That is, of course, Greg Rakestraw. Derek is on vacation out east. And, Greg, we have plenty to talk about, and a lot of it is it's interesting to me because it feels, and it's felt this way since Friday. When the Pacers were up 12 with 7 minutes left on Friday night.
Yeah.
With the 2-1 advantage in the NBA Finals, I was sitting there, and this is the danger of sport. But my mind started racing and getting ahead, and inevitably I was just thinking to myself, I never thought I'd see this, but this might actually be happening.
Right.
And then I actually, unfortunately, spoke it like out loud. Is this actually happening? And I was talking about the Pacers going up 3-1 and being on, as I keep saying, having their toe in the water of a championship.
Right.
Obviously, we know what happened. 2-2, now 3-2 after Oklahoma City's, I would say, dominant win in game number 5. And it feels like it's over, but then you remind yourself, if the Pacers can win a home game, then you see what happens and you throw your chips in on a game 7, where anything can happen. But nonetheless, we have a lot to discuss with that. But I want to start with this. As always, thank you to Bailey & Wood for being the presenting sponsor here for Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network. Bailey & Wood, which is based just south of Indianapolis, but now has branches throughout the entire area of central Indiana, and not only committed to keeping you with the best interest rate that you can get, but we're talking about a family-owned business, treats customers like family, and keeps money within the communities. They've got their golf outing that will be coming up at the end of the summer where they give so much back to schools and choirs and churches throughout Central Indiana. BAWFG.com is their website for Bailey & Wood. That's Bailey & Wood with the blue and orange, non-Oklahoma City. That's
Whiteland Warriors.
Oklahoma City. It's
Yeah.
Whiteland Warriors.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
There we go. Bailey & Wood, we thank them. Also, of course, Hoagies and Hops, Chateau Kitchens, among those sponsors that we have. Chili Water as well. We thank all of our sponsors for making this show possible. Greg, your reactions now. Game number 5, Oklahoma City takes a 3-2 stranglehold on the series.
I was telling Amy last night watching the game, Pacers having to fight and scratch and claw to stay within 10. They were just hanging on and got it back to within 2, obviously, early in the fourth quarter, and then in the blink of an eye, it's back to 10 or 11 points. I think at the end of the day, Oklahoma City's best is better than the Indiana Pacers' best.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
It doesn't mean the series is done. Crazy things happen. If you're the Indiana Pacers, now the mindset simply has to be get it to Game 7. Don't think about having to win 2 games. You know you have to win 1, knowing you're trailing for the first time in a series the entire postseason, knowing you have now lost back-to-back games for the first time in over 3 months. That's an indication as to how magical this run has been. You have not lost back-to-back games since prior to St. Patrick's Day. So there's plenty we can dissect from game number 5, and obviously we will. But in terms of looking, out the windshield and not back the rearview mirror, it's just, all right, everything's on the table. What needs to happen to win Game 6? That's got to be the mindset of Rick Carlisle and company.
Okay, so let's begin with this. Obviously, the Pacers' catalyst, if you will, is Tyrese Haliburton.
Sure.
There's going to be plenty of discussion, and especially if Oklahoma City closes this out in 6 or 7, about what happened to Tyrese Haliburton when it mattered most. And we can go to the sore calf. And I've had people, our mutual friend Alex Core.
Yep.
He's a doctor, but he's not Tyrese Haliburton's doctor.
No.
And he was saying, it sounds like it's this kind of an injury, which is essentially kind of a calf strain type thing. I mean, that's basically what they're saying. But regardless of that, the reality is this, Greg. He's a wonderful player, and he is a guy that you want to build your team around. But even if he's not injured, the Jekyll and Hyde has been something that we've seen over the course of the year. Therefore, you wonder, is this injury or is the injury that he suffers from the lights are too bright?
This is I wouldn't say the lights are too bright, but this is where both things can be true. Do I believe that an injury is impacting his play? Absolutely. He does not have the level of game he had on Monday night, were that the case. But I don't even think it's the lights are too bright, just because think of all the game-winning shots he has made.
I get it.
I mean, it is staggering,
historic,
and it makes it difficult to put this into one box. But I think there almost has to be, and when he is the leader of the team, yes, you've got a veteran like Miles Turner. Yes, you've got a veteran like James Johnson. Yes, you've got a guy that's been there and done that and led a team to an upset win in the finals in Rick Carlisle. But there's almost feeling like it needs to come from Reggie Miller, because that's really kind of the person that we're like comparing Tyrese to in terms of Pacers lore, so to speak. There needs to be a veteran that just goes, kid, it's on you. And I understand that his nature as a person, as a player, and what has made this team successful is to defer and include everybody. But there has to be times when it has to be you. And it seems like there needs to be almost a pregame reminder to him at times, buddy, tonight it's on you. You have to go make it happen.
But let me ask you this, Greg, and this is going to sound like I'm giving Haliburton a pass. I'm not, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But one of the questions that I have been wondering through this series, it is easy for me, it is easy for you, it is easier for listeners of this program, viewers of this program, it is easy for writers, whatever it may be, to put this all on Tyrese Haliburton.
Right.
I understand that. Where's Pascal Siakam? He hasn't been a total disappearing act.
Right.
But for a guy that is the one that was your final piece acquisition, that's won a ring with Toronto, that comes in here and at times on the low post in particular, and a lot of this is probably the defense of Oklahoma City, but at some point, isn't it on Pascal Siakam to even vocally, and maybe he has, but to stand up or speak up and say, here's what needs to be different?
To some degree, but you kind of alluded to the thing that immediately went to my mind in terms of the way things have played out. I don't think it's as much about what the Indiana Pacers are doing wrong. It's about what Oklahoma City's doing right.
Right.
Again, they were the best team in the league by all of 4 games, comparing them to the Cavaliers. But clearly we saw what the Cavaliers were about, and that's not a negative towards them. They're a good basketball team. But the Pacers were clearly a better basketball team when they played them all of a month ago and winning that series in 5. What of this series that the Pacers have been through looks like the Cavaliers series? Not much. The caliber of team, and I saw this stat posted over the last couple of days, the win percentage of the teams the Pacers have played in the playoffs this year is as good as any team to make an NBA Finals in history. Okay, so again, we always have to blame somebody, right? It's kind of the way that this business works these days. How about you simply say, those other guys are really good? I think part of the reason why, like one of the topics that we've talked about, and this applies to Tyrese Haliburton as well, has been like the ability, or I mean not ability, the way this team at times has looked like they have overshared the basketball. And to some,
totally. There are times, Greg, they make one too many passes.
Right.
And I know that that's incredibly dumb to say, but there are times that happens.
But I think part of the reason why is they are so used to having somebody open when they make that pass. And not just open. Think of our buddy Barry Krause. Nobody's ever open. They're always wide open. Well, normally when the Pacers make a pass like that, somebody has like an entire half of the floor to himself. And against this team, it doesn't happen.
Correct. Or the window closes like that.
I really think this is much more about Oklahoma City's really damn good than the Indiana Pacers doing something wrong.
The thing to me that was fascinating, okay, so in Game 4, if we're to go back to that, as I'm watching Game 4 play out, there were times where the Pacers could never – they would get like a 5-7 – you talked about last night,
right?
And we're taping this on Tuesday, with Oklahoma City. You know, we've all seen this with games, right, where teams – it's that rubber band effect. You get it down to 2, and then all of a sudden it stretches right back out to 10.
Yep.
It just keeps slinking, and one team has kind of that control the whole time. The Pacers felt like that in Game 4. Each time Oklahoma City got close, you looked at the lineup and you said, Oklahoma City's not rotating through the way Indiana is. And this is – keep an eye on this, because I'm curious to see what happens at the end of the fourth quarter, the last 4 or 5 minutes, because in Game 3, Oklahoma City's grabbing their shorts.
Right, yep.
They're breathing heavy. And you're like, okay, advantage Indiana here, checkmate. This is exactly what the Pacers want to do. Greg, in the last 4 minutes of that game in Game 4, for whatever reason, the Pacers got out-pacered.
Yep.
All of a sudden, they were the ones. Now, I don't know. Miles Turner had been ill. I don't know, and I don't mean this. This is going to sound ludicrous. I don't know if that became contagious and other players were under the weather.
Sure.
Honestly.
Sure.
But for whatever reason, after 90 games of it being the other way around, for the very first time, Indiana was the team that was out of gas in the last 4 minutes. And that, again, I think carried over into Game 5.
And again, I also think that is Oklahoma City being forced to raise their game to a different level. You know, they really only got pushed by the Nuggets in terms of their playoff run. And I think the Pacers have made the Thunder find even another gear.
But the thing that's and listen, Oklahoma City's tremendous.
Yep,
I mean, I'm not and what's funny is if it weren't for and I'm going to say this about both franchises, if it weren't for the opposition in the finals right now, each franchise is looking at the team that their fan base should be rooting for in the other conference.
Absolutely,
right?
Yes, they're the ones most like us. Absolutely,
right. I mean, this is the Spider-Man gift for sure. But having said that, when you look at Oklahoma City, that was the team that was supposed to be the inexperienced one.
Right. This
was the team that was supposed to be afraid of the bright lights. This is a young basketball team, and the Pacers with the Siakam, with the Turner, who's a veteran. Those guys, they're the ones that have wilted underneath the biggest spotlight here.
But I would say this, though, is that, again, Caruso and to a lesser degree Hartenstein helped kind of remedy that because Caruso was part of an NBA champion. Yes, I know it was the COVID championship. I get that. Hartenstein made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year with the New York Knicks. But at the same time, it was the same sort of logic that I kind of gave the Pacers. I said, they got a fighting chance against the Cavs because the Cavs are a really good team, but they've not been through the playoff wars. And that's one of the things because, again, just talent 1 through 10, I think Oklahoma City is a better team than the Indiana Pacers are. But you would say they haven't had a experience on this stage, which was, again, part of what was so unique about these finals. There wasn't a team that had this heavy dose of playoff experience collectively as a group going into it.
So let me ask you this. And this is the hard part about it, Greg, because there are still 2 games to play.
Right.
Well, 1, maybe 2, right?
Correct.
And one's at home.
Glass is half full here in Indianapolis.
And it's so weird because you almost wonder what the atmosphere of the crowd's going to be for Game 6.
Right.
Are people going in like, let's go bonkers, or are people going in like, oh, man?
And so here's allow me to break the fourth wall, so to speak. And I try not to do this because of I know you kind of live by this as well. We don't tell fans how to act because we don't have to pay to go to games.
Right.
We are lucky enough to be paid for the most part to go to these sporting events, that people have to take time out of their jobs and a significant chunk of disposable income, especially for an NBA Finals game, to go enjoy the atmosphere. In other words, Jake and I have typically forfeited the right to tell you, the fan, the viewer, the paying customer, how to act at a game. But allow me to break that rule and offer this advice. Pacers fans, I want you to go ape blank on Thursday night, regardless of what happens. You saw and you heard it talked about repeatedly, just how wonderful the crowds have been in Oklahoma City and how loud and how frenzied that arena was. Well, regardless of how this goes down on Thursday night, this is the last time you will see this Indiana Pacers team play, one that has gotten you farther than any other team, with the exception of the 2000 NBA finalists, which also got to play 3 games at home, played 6 games in the NBA finals. This group has gotten you farther than any in the 50-year history, from an NBA perspective, of this franchise. So you can do one of 2 things. You can try to truly be the 6th man and kind of lift that team that needs the boost right now, at least to get to a Game 7, or if nothing else, be beyond appreciative of the memories that have been made for a lifetime by what has happened over the course of these last 2 months.
Here's the other thing, Greg. And I hope and I think the Pacers are going to win Game 6.
Me too.
Okay? However, and this is a dangerous thing to go to because why even open the Pandora's box of this conversation, but I do think it needs to be said. if for some reason Oklahoma City is to win Game 6,
Right.
I certainly would hope this is the first time that this city and their fans have been able to witness in person
Right.
a team accepting a championship trophy. And I would hope that the fan base here would handle that with the kind of hospitality and class
I think
that
they
I would
would.
like to think Indianapolis would do.
There's Hoosier hospitality. There's also basketball knowledge that is layered over top of that. And I think there's a lot of people that feel the way I do that, hey, listen, are there things the Pacers could have done differently or better to get to this point? Yeah, probably. Did they let an opportunity in Game 4 slip their fingers? Yeah, they did. Oklahoma City was clearly the better team in Game 2 and Game 5. Yet in Game 5, they still got it back to within 2 points at the end. But no, and again, to provide the history lesson for those that are younger, the Lakers had a chance to close it out against the Pacers in Game 5 in 2000. But if I remember right, the Pacers pretty much throttled them.
They beat them
in
by
game
30,
number 5.
35 or something.
Right.
33.
I mean, the Lakers said, let's go home and wrap this up at home, and they did, pretty easily in terms of game number 6. So, yes.
But at Game 7, anything can happen, Greg.
Exactly. Which is why I go back to don't think about Game 7 now if you're the Pacers players. As a fan, you have that luxury. You can do that. But in terms of Rick Carlisle and staff, find a way to win Game 6. As simple as that.
And a lot of that comes down, obviously, to the health of Tyrese Haliburton. There also are questions about who wasn't on the floor for the majority of the end or after the comeback in game number 5. We'll get back into that. We've got our hero of the week to get to. Those two things might be tied, actually. Greg wants to get into his chili water, so we will do that as well. We'll do that as well. We'll get a review on the chili water. How's that? On this, the best so far of the last – this is the best playoff version of this show.
Should I go with the white man overbite like Derek does now?
That's right. Flex your muscles, Greg. We'll roll along here on the ISC Sports Network. It's Query and Schultz here with Greg Rakestraw on ISC.
Tonight.
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh!
Bailey & Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Back on the ISC Sports Network and anywhere that you might be listening to this program. It is Query and Schultz here. Jake Query along with Greg Rakestraw. And, Greg, let's get right into this. The guy that really carried Indiana in quarter number 3 in game number 5 was T.J. McConnell.
Yep.
Who, every once in a while, each player on this team at some point has had, like, their game, right?
Correct.
Last night was the T.J. McConnell game. And he was virtually unstoppable for a while there, but the question is this, and I get that Rick Carlisle said fatigue became a factor.
Yeah.
But once they got the lead for Oklahoma City down to 2, the guy that had kind of carried them there in T.J. McConnell then comes off the floor and Haliburton's back out. Now, I have my theory on this, but I want your thoughts. T.J. McConnell, did they pull him too early? Should they have put him back out?
No, they didn't pull him too early. Yes, they should have put him back out. And after a couple of minutes, I get the fact that, again, this has been a team that has rolled with their bench, but also then rolled with their starters. And you can, I mean, my goodness, every NBA coach, usually has, other than Tom Thibodeau, obviously, has some version of this. But, the guy that we used to harp about, my God, they're always playing the same amount of minutes, was Larry Bird, who was one of his top assistants, Rick Carlisle back in the day. But it was always, you're going to play these minutes. These are your minutes. This is what you do. We do not change this over the long haul. It's going to benefit you. Because he had to play a little bit more in the third quarter, and obviously given everything he gave, he needed a break in the fourth quarter. But I'm not trying to be hindsight as 2020. You needed to put him back in. I kept asking myself as I'm watching this, who does he go back in for? Are you pulling Tyrese? Are you putting him in for Nembhard? Do you go 3 small, and do you pull him, if Neesmith wasn't getting stops at one end and was making some plays but not all of them at the other end, do you put him in for Neesmith and go 3 guards, 6'4" and under that are on the floor? So, yes, you had to pull him at some point in time.
Nembhard really struggled, though.
You had to pull him at some point in time. You needed to get him back out there. By the time he was back out there, it was too late.
But I understand this, okay? I understand when it comes to Haliburton,
right,
why you continue to keep him out there even when he was not. I mean, he was 0 for 6 from the floor, right? He had as many field goals as the two of us combined. But I understand why you have him out there for 2 reasons. Number one, because you go back in your mind, Greg, no matter what we do in life, you always resort back to what you know best or what is like a recency bias of, but like if you play roulette and you always put it on the same number, you can look at that board and you're like, you know what, it hasn't hit in like 48 straight rolls.
Keep playing it.
But you keep playing it, right? And I think when it comes to Haliburton, when you think about the late game, as you're looking at the clock and you're like, we're down 8, we're down 10, it's impossible to not go to the back of your mind of, but this is a lightning in a bottle down the stretch guy.
You don't have to exactly go far back in the rearview mirror to find those things either.
And so even if he's hobbled, not only does Indiana have to keep thinking about that, but even if you know Haliburton's injury is going to limit him, you know that Oklahoma City isn't totally aware of his status.
Sure.
And so you have to have him out there because Oklahoma City has to continue to honor him and pay attention to him. And then you're hoping that frees up a Neesmith or a Siakam or a Turner to get things going.
But you know when that changes? Now that your back is against the wall.
Correct.
Now if you see on Thursday night that Tyrese just doesn't have it or anybody, hey, there is no such thing as hitting the panic button too soon. Now that for the first time after 14 postseason wins, and if I try to do the math quickly on games, in your 22nd postseason game, you are facing elimination for the first time. Again, that is a jaw-droppingly
and you're down in a series for the first time.
Exactly. That is a jaw-droppingly good stat. So now, if you get to that same scenario on Thursday, and McConnell is going crazy, and Haliburton doesn't have it, you have to say, sorry, Ty, you've got an injury. You're sitting. McConnell, get in there.
Okay. Do they have the mental resolve to come back and play in a Game 6 as they did in Game 3?
Given the fact they have had so many come-from-behind wins in this playoff run, they absolutely have the mental resolve to do it. And again, they've got the mental resolve to do it in front of their home fans, where you've got the home fans that are lifting you up.
Now, I'd like to know this for our Hoagies and Hops Hero of the Week. Greg's getting excited. Hoagies and Hops, of course.
You're building this up. Are you much of a movie buff, Jake? Do you watch a lot of movies?
I do watch movies. You know what's funny, though, Greg?
What's up?
I love going to the movie theater.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
And it used to be that at any time in the American culture, you knew what 4 or 5 movies were out. And somebody'd say, like, hey, I'm going to a movie Friday night. And you're like, oh, are you going to see this, this, or this, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I drive past a movie theater, and I want everybody to continue going to theaters because I love going to the cinema, right? I love the experience of it, being there, the popcorn, all of it. But I never know what's out.
You enjoy the retro things, maybe don't live as much solely in that world the way that our mutual friend JMV does. I heard him doing a plug for Alamo Draft House, a remote there, just north of the track. As you and I get to the Speedway, we pass by it every day during the month of May. The last time I went to a movie was there to see a movie that was made 25 years ago. I went to go see the re-air of Dogma from Kevin Smith. It was
never seen it.
It still applies. You need to go see it. But the reason I bring up the whole movie claim is this. Are you familiar with the movie Galaxy Quest?
Familiar with it, not seen it.
Okay. Well, Sam Rockwell, pretty well-known actor.
Right.
Basically, they always joke, the joke one on Star Trek was, hey, if somebody named Ensign Jones shows up, Ensign Jones is going to get shot. Okay. Well, in Galaxy Quest, without giving things away, Sam Rockwell basically plays a crew member that kind of got added to the plot, so to speak. And he's like, I'm just so psyched to be on the show. Like a couple times during the movie, he just kind of stopped and go, man, this is great. I'm just so happy to be here. It's the way that I feel about this. It's why I've been drinking the beer throughout the course of the show.
Just to calm yourself down?
No, just because I have to sit here and watch you guys do it 50 weeks a year. Now I get to eat a sandwich as we're taping this at 10 in the morning.
And this is your favorite sandwich, correct?
Correct. So because Derek's job is to be the den mother and buy the sandwiches.
That's right.
On Sunday nights. In all seriousness, Jake was working on Sunday evening. So he was in St. Louis, couldn't pick this up. The folks from Hoagies and Hops are closed on Mondays. The Sunday Father's Day crowd was tremendous. Our buddy Greg Pulley had his Father's Day dinner there. I literally just missed him, apparently, and the rest family, Owen and everybody else. So Christine was working on Sunday. It was great to see her. But, yes, the Pitt twist is my favorite. And even, to reference another movie, Jake is somewhat like Meg Ryan from When Harry Met Sally. The sandwich is good. Correct. It's not that good, even though Schultz would swear about it. But I brought in all the topics on the side, or toppings on the side.
Yes, I'm finicky.
So they're hidden like behind. You can see them right there. They're hidden behind the ball. I mashed mine all together. So mayo, Hers potato chips. I can't give you like all the alphabet, the LTOO stuff that Derek does. Meat, cheese, mayonnaise, potato chips, and coleslaw. And tell a story so I can eat, please.
I put the chips on there. My hero of the week, by the way. Is it weird to say this about somebody in a loss?
Please.
But I am going to go with TJ McConnell.
Right.
Only because I think what we saw, and I know that they lost, but what you saw from him in Game 5 was a guy that when his team most needed it was able to give them a lift. And we saw that in Game 3, obviously. The energy that he brings. This is a guy that I think Derek said it best, at the beginning of last year where he said, we keep thinking that T.J. McConnell's career as a Pacer has come to an end, and then he keeps coming out and showing us why he has to be on the floor.
He was supposed to be the third point guard beginning of last year, right?
Correct.
He was getting coaches DNPs last year, and now he is an invaluable member of the team.
He is, who knows long-term what the T.J. McConnell will retire a Pacer.
True.
And I'm going to predict now T.J. McConnell will be a member of the Pacer organization well beyond his playing days.
If he wants to be, they would love to have him. And given the fact that his dad is a coach and he's kind of a basketball lifer, you would see that's coming. So.
But anyway, I just thought that he was tremendous. And look, I know it was disappointing that the Pacers lost. Truthfully, probably saving them from getting completely blown out of the building.
Right.
So maybe from their psyche and for the psyche of Oklahoma City as well, having still them stay right there and have this plucky guy that's keeping them within it kind of keeps Oklahoma City still in check a little bit going into game number 6. So my hero of the week is, in fact, T.J. McConnell. By the way, Chili Water, which is attached to Hoagies and Hops right there on Boulevard. 47th and Boulevard?
42nd.
I always get that wrong. 42nd and Boulevard.
Jake knows where it's at. He just drives there. He's fine.
Chili Water, built to last. And there is a symbolism for the built to last, right? Which is a fine German Pilsner.
Correct. So, I celebrate the entire catalog, both from a sandwich standpoint and a beer standpoint. But the Pitt Twist is my favorite. I literally have order through the menu. But again, I'm not going to get the Shipyard. It's got to sit for a day and a half. No, it's not going to work. This works. But of all the various beers that I could buy, I thought built to last to represent what the Indiana Pacers have done and what they have put together. And knowing that, there's a couple of question marks in terms of just exactly how much money Miles Turner is going to get. And I think you saw this over the last few games. Maybe you're looking at the backup 5 position. I'm not sure Tony Bradley or Thomas Bryant are going to be the answer there.
Right.
But in the other 4 spots, you know who your starter is. You know who your backup is. We're still trying to figure out where Jarris Walker fits in, but you want to play him somewhere. You could go back if you wanted to extend, since there have been 3 shows since this, or 3 games in the NBA Finals since this show was last filmed. I could tell you Benedict Mathurin would be a great candidate for Hero of the Week. Now, I know Game 4 free throws and Game 5 in total didn't go well for him. You don't win Game 3 and put yourself in that position
Game 4
to still be playing correct without Benedict Mathurin. But built to last, even if the end is Thursday night for the Indiana Pacers, I don't think this is a flash in the pan. You got to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and a lot of folks said, it's a fluke. You were benefiting from the Bucks being injured and the Knicks being injured. So what do? You go and beat both those 2 teams. You beat one number 1
and the
seed.
1 seed,
And you have been competitive with a team that everybody thought was going to house you. And this is the opposite of 25 years ago when your de facto father-in-law recognized and realized, all right, this group has gotten as far as they can, that it was time for Rick and Derek and Dale to go elsewhere. And after the NBA Finals and that crowning achievement of finally making it, the rebuild button was pushed immediately. That is not the case this time. Even if it's not a win in Game 6 or not a win in Game 7, the group you see now will come back next year.
You know another question mark, Greg, with that?
Built to last.
And I don't know the answer to this, nor do I think the Pacers do either.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that we forget about when you talk about that backup five, what do you get from Isaiah Jackson?
Right.
And what do you do there because he's a free agent and he's coming off the Achilles? But I thought he started to show, that he was going to be a rotational guy, and now what do you do?
I think he is probably a little bit further down the depth chart in terms of your options, would be my guess. Because he is out of player options too, right? Like in other words, they can't re-up him at this point. Like he will hit the market.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. So they can't just extend him. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, they can extend. They can re-sign him. I'm saying.
Right.
But because Isaiah Jackson's coming off the Achilles injury, nobody knows what player who he is. Right.
And I think if I'm the Pacers, what I am looking to do is start sniffing around mobile bigs, guys that have been around for a minute, and guys you go, hey, we've only got a couple of million for you, which is only in NBA terms, but you want to chase a ring?
Right.
You want to come in here and play 20 minutes a night, maybe, and get a ring? That you now have that chip you can play, a la when the Pacers brought in Chris Mullin.
Sam Perkins.
You nailed it back in the day.
Right.
You now have that card you can play for the first time in a quarter century, and my guess would be that's the direction they go.
So not cards to play, but cars. They were running under the lights. Greg mentioned it in Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway, technically in St. Louis. Pretty good show that was put on by IndyCar Sunday night. We'll take a look back at that. And staying with the basketball theme and the bright lights, one of the bright stars back. We'll get into that as we roll along here. Continuing on Query and Schultz, and you're watching it on the ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey and Wood, we
Welcome back to Query and Schultz. Greg Rakestraw in for Derek, and you had mentioned it, Greg. Sunday night under the lights for IndyCar. At the Worldwide Technology Raceway, formerly known as Gateway. That's the racetrack in St. Louis. Bailey and Wood, by the way, the presenting sponsor for this program. Also, thanks to Hoagies and Hops. Chateau Kitchens will bring you Buy It or Bull Schultz. We'll do that coming up in just a little bit.
Jake, I have said this before. I love, and I apologize for cutting you off in midstream. One of the things I love about this show is we try to keep it as commercial-free as possible. That with like an NBA Finals presented by YouTube TV level of sponsor swag that is in front of us. But there are times there are commercial breaks of 30 seconds. That means more content for you, the listener. The only drawback is when you're trying to eat a Hoagies and Hops sandwich and you get a 3-2-1 like contact level countdown.
It doesn't bother Derek.
I'm not going to give Vince the same level of crap that the guy that normally sits in this show because I love him. But if you want to know my cheeks look fatter than normal, because I clearly had an entire bite of sandwich that I had to inhale quietly.
It's understandable.
While Jake was trying to say nice things about something.
That's
right. about his other, because we have like 13 employers from the two of us. One of his other employers, the IndyCar series. So
well,
continue.
Listen, Greg, the reality is this. When it comes to racing in the summertime, typically this is, racing, and then what we're also going to talk about, the Fever, they become the dominant storylines.
Sure.
But obviously the Pacers have dominated so far, for good reason, the stories of the summer. But oval racing, when it comes to IndyCar, it's an interesting topic because, and I've been, working with the series now since, believe it or not, since 2007. You've been around the same amount of time in different capacities with it. And, I hear it a lot from people. Why don't they go to Kentucky? Why don't they go to Chicagoland? More ovals. And I totally get it. The kind of catch-22 here, Greg, would be this. Ovals are breathtaking to watch on television for sure because the side-by-side action, I mean, it's what people have become accustomed to and used to seeing when it comes to racing. But if people are not showing up as
Correct.
they were not in the mid 2010s, that era, into the oval races, if you put on a show on a street course, which for those that are unfamiliar is a temporary course using city streets, Long Beach, Toronto, St. Petersburg, or a road course, which is a permanent fixture built for racing, those are more expansive areas, and people can camp. You can get more of the casual fan that just wants to come down, and it's an event.
They're coming for the party.
Right, they're coming for the party.
It's the same cell as the Indianapolis Indians, Savannah Bananas, et cetera.
Right, so so basically road and street courses, better at the box office, not as good on television. Television viewers, better on ovals, but not as good at the box office. It's a catch-22 there. But I was pleasantly surprised. This year, the race in St. Louis was moved to a Sunday night. That, one would assume, in combination with the Pacers run, takes away a lot of your travel audience from the Indianapolis area, which is a large percentage of the ticket-buying public for that race. Mm-hmm. Greg, I had concerns over what the attendance would be, and it was much better attended than I would have guessed, number one. And then number two, it looked fabulous on television, the race Sunday night.
By the way, are you a Pit Bull fan by any chance? Pit Bull, like the artist bald guy, says worldwide a lot. Mr. 305 has a soccer stadium named after him in Miami.
Very familiar with them.
Okay.
Totally neutral.
Okay. Do you enjoy cinnamon vodka?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. Fireball. Vince, hook me up. Fireball. Put it up there on the screen. Hook me up with it. Nothing against Bailey and Wood. I want to see the Fireball picture.
I mean, it was
that we had
unbelievable.
downloaded. Thank you. So this obviously is how the race started, and
that is unbelievable.
Watching the television broadcast, you could hear the guys go, "Whoa!" as they were shaking. You were in the pits.
Oh.
How did it feel? Opposite side of the racetrack, but still, how did it feel?
I was standing next to or near Liz Power, Will Power's wife.
Yes.
And I that was behind me.
Yeah.
And I saw her jump like 6 feet. And I'm like, what? And then the boom, right? The other thing I thought, for those that are unfamiliar, this facility is right along the 70-55
as you're driving to St. Louis from Indianapolis.
Can you imagine driving on the interstate,
right,
and that's what you see?
There needs to be like some sort of, we all have in these markets now these warnings. Warning at 7 o'clock Central Time, a giant fireball will appear from the sky in Madison, Illinois, just so you know.
Honestly, because it was – so basically what that is like 6, I guess, cannons or whatever, like that were – so that there were like 6 different balls that were – but it was unbelievable.
Can you imagine like the pre-production budget, like the budget for an event? We got X amount for marketing, we got X amount for hospitality. What's our pyro budget? Well, clearly let's up that.
I mean –
my goodness.
Yeah, it was unreal. And like now imagine being one of the cars, right?
Right.
I mean, Will Power on pole or any of these like.
And here's Scott McLaughlin back here who needs to get to up here by the time we get there.
That's right. Yeah. But it was a great race.
Yeah.
There were a lot of storylines of it. I mean, Connor Daly taking the lead in that race, and for a while there, it looked like he was going to win. He's battling with Pato O'Ward. They raced very clean with one another. That was fun to watch. You had, for the second time on an oval, the second oval of the year, none of the Penske's finishing in the top 10 or 12 of the race itself. Joseph Newgarden, at no fault of his, involved in a horrific accident, but walking away from it along with Louis Foster. There were a lot of storylines. And then, Greg, the guy that quietly now is moving his way into the championship conversation, talking about Kyle Kirkwood. And, he is not a star by any stretch of the imagination, but people better get to know his name.
This is a very Formula One stat, even if the racing has not been that way during the course of the year. We are 3.5 months into the season. We are 8 races into the season, and there's 2 dudes that have won a race.
It's crazy.
But again, given how many times the leads change and the different pit strategies and fuel mileage strategies that were under display, but yeah, to say at middle of June, with one more race in June left to go, yeah, you've had 2 race winners, Alex Palou and Kyle Kirkwood this year. That's crazy to think about.
And now it's on to Road America, which is a huge, expansive road course, which means back to Alex Palou winning, right?
Probably, yes.
Palou
was truly a non-factor on Sunday, and it's the first time that has really been the case.
What's interesting is because Palou had some issues with his car, he fell back he was running 20th at one point, and I forget where he ended up, but just due to attrition and other such things, he did what Alex Palou does, which is like, 10th. You know what? Yeah, I'll just hang back and then I'll take the points and get my 10th and move along. Yeah. But Kirkwood's at least made it interesting in the championship.
But again, we tend to play, amateur and armchair GM because of, and again, you get a paycheck from them. I quasi do during the month of May. And of the things that aren't on my beat, I follow IndyCar and F1 more than anything else. Like literally for Father's Day, I just kind of was a couch potato, and I didn't watch that much of the U.S. Open like I normally do. My viewing schedule was F1 at 2, which is frankly a snoozer until the two McLaren guys hit each other. Then I watched the U.S. Trinidad and Tobago Gold Cup match at 6, which is also kind of a snoozer. There was an easy win for the U.S. I haven't had many of those recently. Then I was locked in on this for 3 hours. And so good on the folks at Fox to basically realize, hey, wait a minute, somebody in the NBA and NHL have made a mistake. They have scheduled their series incorrectly because normally the viewing habits forever have been U.S. Open and then an NBA Finals game on Father's Day. The only time they have avoided that usually would be when the U.S. Open is played on the West Coast. So you would have primetime golf. Well, it was played at Oakmont. So, and because this move happened basically around 500 weekends when this changed.
I haven't seen TV numbers yet, have you?
I have not, but on a Sunday night with nothing else in sports going on, you would think all of a sudden, hey, let's give this a try.
And the good news is they delivered a good product.
Right. And NASCAR's right now on Amazon Prime. So, I mean, like literally all of the tumblers click into place in terms of, hey, and they were on a road course in Mexico City. So this is your chance. Kind of have the spotlight to yourself. That was a genius move by IndyCar and Fox.
The other big, obviously, sports storyline that we would be talking about a lot more if it weren't for the Pacers is that of the fact that now, and for the Fever, the good news, Caitlin Clark is back. They had that kind of hiccup period there. Caitlin Clark had the quad injury. She was rested. Looks like, Greg, you can take your finger off the panic button, right?
I am not going to try to play myself out as some WNBA expert. I know there are now 13 franchises. I know who the players are on the Indiana Fever. I probably watched more of it last year than I have this year. But yes, coinciding with, oh my goodness, that's after hitting like 130 feet of threes 3 consecutive times down the floor, is that picture of her and Brianna Stewart, or Stewie, apparently as many are prone to call her. There's one of those threes you're seeing on your screen right now. With so much interest in the Pacers, we just kind of quickly pushed the Fever to the side because of Caitlin Clark's injury. I was very pleasantly surprised to see how good the home crowds were without her playing for a couple of times. But for those that don't follow it, the Liberty had not lost this year until this game. And with Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu and others, they are thought to be the best team in the league. And the Fever put 102 points on them. And Clark had 25 in the first half.
It's interesting because what you want whenever a star player, no matter who it is, comes back into a team, Greg, is you wonder what the reacclimation period is. Right? And how much a team becomes not reliant without their star, but all of a sudden, okay, we're starting to figure out how to play without the star. Then it's back in, and seemingly for them, it was a seamless transition.
And professional segue by you there. Well done. 5 games she missed out of a 44-game season. They're going to be fine. The thing that actually impressed me, those were the first games she had missed in college or in the pros. So 6 years worth of basketball, first time she dealt with an injury. That's pretty, because that is obviously the big concern. Right. You invest so much, not just dollars, but time, emotions, marketing capital on Caitlin Clark. She gets hurt, and then all the air comes out of the tent. First time she's been hurt in 6 years.
What'd you get for Father's Day as a gift?
The ability to watch that stuff and not be interrupted. I was given the gift of time. It was glorious.
So how does that work? Does the wife and kids leave the house for the day, or are they just told, like, you shut the door? How does it work?
I'm in the living room, and if Jack wants something, Amy takes care of it. Mia is the typical about to be North Central Panther, by the way. Very self-sufficient at the age of – she's 14 going on 40. She can take care of herself. She's fine. She needs something, she'll come get us. Jack, my son, has special needs for that does not know, so I was around to help a little bit. But largely, Amy was on Jack duty the entire day, so I was just a bum, and it was glorious.
By the way,
I did nothing useful at all on Sunday. It was great.
Isn't a lot of your useful free time? Haven't you been like traveling around the state, going to different towns?
Yeah. So as I would tell people in the last week, that my play-by-play schedule started to kind of slow down. but and you have such a love for all things retro Indiana. Remember the old marketing slogan, Wonder Indiana?
Yes.
You can probably hear the jingle in your head from back in the 80s, right?
That's going to become Why Not Indiana, by the way.
Well, you already changed it that way.
That's right.
And I see the new watch you're in because of all the T-shirts you sold.
That's right.
At this point. But yeah, I didn't even include one of the trips. So the previous Friday, I did an up and back to Lawrenceburg before then doing a soccer match at Graham Park. Then last Monday, it was Terre Haute. Charlie Hammock and I went over there because we've got, you see on the bottom of your screen, we've got this event with the Indiana Track and Field Hall of Fame, their induction ceremonies that we're streaming on ISC on Saturday night. Then Tuesday, it was here and then back home to Lanesville. Wednesday, it was Milan. And then before that, I actually played on our buddy Darnell Booker's golf outing for the Indy Thunder, who are having a dominant season, by the way. It's okay to root for those Thunder in Indianapolis.
That's right.
Then on Thursday, I'm now on the board of directors of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame.
So I wanted to ask you about the Milan, because there's a Milan museum, correct?
Correct. There is a museum that is dedicated. So there is a museum that's dedicated to the Milan Indians, but also houses a great amount of Hoosiers movie artifacts.
Okay.
So like if you go to the Hoosier Gym in Knightstown, it is just the Hickory Huskers and just the gym. Now there is all kind of memorabilia and historical nods to that building built in Knightstown in 1921, but it's just Hoosiers. The Milan 54 Museum is a blend of Milan and Hickory.
Now the water tower in Milan,
we just got repainted. Yes.
So the
right next to a building. I know where you're going. There is a new, more modern water tower that has now been painted to look like a basketball. That would be where Highway 101 and 350. I've been in there many times. I know the highways now, where they intersect just north of the high school.
The old water tower
is still up in town. That has state champs 1954.
That's still there.
That is still standing and still there. And in the gift shop, you can buy that state championship bobblehead of the water tower. And I've actually got a commemorative pin in my car of that water tower.
The 1954, the original Milan water tower. It's black and white.
It says state champs.
1954 state champs.
Yep.
You're going to laugh when I say this. Is that on the historic registry? It should be.
It should be. It's not. So where the high school is and where the business district, we see those green signs, everywhere. That's about 2 miles north of the old school Milan downtown. The Milan Museum is an old bank. The vault is still in the building that is in Old Town Milan. So and that's where the old water tower is.
Also, dumb question.
Yes.
The high school that Bobby Plump Raycraft that they went to, is that building still there?
I would assume it's where the building is now.
Okay.
But that is an assumption. So don't know. But like literally the way that I go to the museum, I actually drive through Pierceville, which is the little teeny tiny dot on the map where Bobby and a lot of those guys were from, which is about 3 miles west of Milan.
Suburb.
The Pierceville Alley Cats.
It's the suburb of Milan.
Yeah, a satellite community.
That's right. We come back. It is time for Bite or Bull Schultz, brought to you by our friends at Chateau Kitchens. We'll do it on the other side as you're watching Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network.
Tonight.
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in, it's going to be a long night.
Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh!
Bailey & Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz. My name is Jay Query. That is Greg Rakestraw. You are watching it here on the ISC Sports Network, and it is time for Bite or Bull Schultz. You know how this works. Brought to you by Chateau Kitchens, by the way. You can see it right here, Chateau Kitchens and Home Remodeling. Listen, Derek's had like his entire house done, right?
Yep.
His basement does look fantastic. I saw the basement beforehand, and it looked like some creepy dungeon, and now it's a fantastic. It's not even a man cave; it's a family cave. Right?
Derek has never invited me into his home, so I wouldn't know.
Well, I went there when he was training his dog.
Who loves you, right?
Yes, they wanted
and hates Derek.
They wanted a stranger to come in and have the dog have to like acclimate to strangers and teach him the rules. And literally, I came over and the dog immediately had a chili water waiting for me, and we just sat and had a beer together. The dog loved me, so which was beautiful. But the kitchen was really well done.
Speaking of animals, how's
Kitchens.
Boo, by the way?
Boo is awesome. Boo is my rescue cat.
Yeah.
Greg, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't like. I mean, I enjoy traveling for IndyCar, but I feel so bad leaving Boo home for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much cats. Please tell me that doesn't bother them.
They're fine. Now, I know that you, to some degree, have a Schultz in training with Eddie Garrison, or as I call him from his days of producing Soccer Saturday, Garrisino.
Right.
I know that when you had an extended trip earlier this year, he was in charge of looking after Boo. Everything go okay?
Yeah, everything did go okay. Right. Shannon also, my girlfriend, she goes over and I don't know how long she spends with him though. I'm wanting somebody I want him to have extended time with the cats,
family,
right?
yeah, quality.
But when I get home, Boo very clearly knows that I've been gone.
Okay,
he's like a dog. He's by my side all the time. Now you also have a cat, right?
Correct. So we have two cats. We have Winnie, who showed up in our garage about 11 months ago. Before that, we have Neytiri, and Neytiri was discovered by Shannon.
Correct.
I literally, for my wife's birthday 2 years ago, was about to go get a rescue cat. And Shannon posted on Facebook, hey, we found this cat up a tree that basically one of Donnie's dogs chased up said tree.
Correct.
We've got
way up the
We've
tree.
got this wonderful family that is fostering her. Would anybody like the cat? And literally, I sent her a message to me and I said, I'm almost on my way to Zionsville to go get a cat. I've not committed to one yet. Can I stop by and pick up the cat on Monday? And simple as
And
that.
how has the cat been?
Terry has been wonderful. So Winnie kind of bullies her around a little bit.
I was going to say, there is another cat that I take care of that lives in the wild.
Yeah.
That I'm more and more like, okay, do I get a roommate for? So my question is, how do cats acclimate? I don't know. Like, how would Boo do with another cat moving in?
It varies by cat, man. It's not like it's an entire. I'm not a cat whisperer here. But it kind of varies by the cat, so I can't tell you, unfortunately. You're on your own, dude. Sorry.
Maybe they'll just have two different areas.
There you go. You got a big house. It's a bachelor pad. They have their own room. You're fine.
Well, we'll see, right? If not, I can have Chateau Kitchens come and build an annex.
A cat house.
Yeah, that's right, a cat house. That came off totally the wrong way.
Yes, it did, which is why I said it, because
okay.
that's what made it funny.
All right, so we'll do buy it or bullshit. You know how this works. We make a statement. The other one says whether they buy it or they consider it to be bullshit. So I will begin with one for you, Greg, and then we'll volley back and forth.
Yep.
Number one, the NBA Finals of 2025 will go 7 games. Buy it or bullshit?
I absolutely buy it. I think the Pacers do not lose on their home floor. This is going 7.
Okay. So my follow-up to that would be this. Buy it or bullshit. Tyrese Haliburton goes double digits in terms of his scoring in game number 6.
He has to. If he doesn't, there's not a way for the Pacers to win. So buy it.
Okay. You have one?
I do. Alex Palou will not win the IndyCar Series championship after winning 5 of the first 6 races of the season. Buy it or bullshit.
I think it's bullshit, and I'll tell you why. I talked to Palou before the race in Gateway during qualifying and asked him, are you at the point now where you're aggressive and going for wins in every race, or do you start to play it conservative and just go for the points in situations where you've got to play it safe? And he said, for right now, the mentality still is to go and get wins and get wins. Kyle Kirkwood, I think, even though there's a separation there.
About 70 points or so.
Yeah. So I think Palou knows because he's got experience with it. And I mean, this is no disrespect to Kirkwood, who's been tremendous. I think Palou knows when it's go time and when it's hold back time.
Yeah.
So I think that experience will help him, and he'll go on to win the championship. But
there are still
things that happen, though.
There's still Iowa, Nashville, and
Milwaukee.
Thank you, Milwaukee.
For the ovals.
You have to come. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying. He just won the Indy 500, but clearly Alex is better on road and street circuits, as somewhat of his training would be.
Just what he does do,
right?
And I'm not saying others don't do this. He's a very smart driver in terms of if he doesn't have the car that weekend or whatever it may be, okay, fine, let me salvage what I can from this.
Right.
And that becomes huge advantage there, right?
Right.
Okay, another one for you. Buy it or bullshit. You ready?
Yep.
The majority of games started at quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts in the upcoming season, the starting quarterback will be someone that was not drafted by the Indianapolis Colts.
I will buy that because the answer would be Daniel Jones. So, yes.
Do you think it is his job right now?
I do. No, do I think it's a done deal? No. But
is that because of the Richardson injury or just because Shane Steichen is saying he is more reliable? The ceiling might be higher with Richardson, but with Jones, I have a better idea what I'm dealing with.
Yes. All of those things.
Right.
It is the injury. It is the experience. There's a better chance of the ball going exactly where it's supposed to with Daniel Jones as the quarterback.
Okay, then how about this? Buy it or bull Schultz for Greg Rakestraw. If Anthony Richardson hits his potential as an NFL quarterback, it will be for a franchise other than the one that drafted him.
Bull Schultz. I think the Colts will keep him basically until they'd have to get to that 5th year. He's on his 3rd year. It's the 5th year where the salary escalates and you have to guarantee it before the quarterback hits free agency. I think they would view it just more as a long-term project, even if he's the backup here for a chunk of this season and next year. So I'm not ready to commit to that just yet. Bull Schultz.
Okay, I have one other one here, and I'm going to ask for
this
your
is
forgiveness.
bonus buy it or bull Schultz.
I'm going to ask
without
for
Schultz
your
being
forgiveness
here.
on this. You
Yes.
ready?
Fire away.
I was working on Sunday night, so I did not get to see what's going on, and I will admit between the race and then the Pacers and everything else, I'm a little out of the loop on this one topic. The Stanley Cup final is not yet complete, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So
I believe the Panthers are up 3-2.
So buy it or bull Schultz.
Mm-hmm.
The streak will continue that since 1993 there has not been a Canadian franchise to win the Stanley Cup.
I buy it. Now, I will tell you this. I have simply not had the emotional capital left to care about the Stanley Cup final. And normally by the time we get to this time of the year, I am honestly watching more of that
because it's
than
the
the
big thing
NBA
going
finals.
on, right?
And it's something
Correct.
different. It's something new. You probably don't even remember this. My father-in-law played in the Blackhawks organization.
I didn't know that.
What was never saw the ice for the Blackhawks, but basically was a practice goalie for the Blackhawks back in the mid-'60s. And so I'm married into a hockey family. I used to have the center ice package back in the day 20 years ago. I watch far less NHL now than I did back then. But normally when it comes to the Stanley Cup final, singular, not NBA finals,
Correct.
plural, I watch more of the Stanley Cup. But at some point in time, you are out of brain space and oxygen, and I've hit that point.
So does that mean that if someone were to say to you, who is your hockey franchise, you're a Blackhawks guy?
Probably so, and probably because they have had some recent level of success.
Right.
Now, you and I, because we've been doing this for a long time, I remember your letter writing campaign of 20 years ago.
Correct.
Are you still, even though you're wearing Whalers gear right now, which
You
is
know why?
a sweet shirt.
The Pacers are chasing their white whale, baby.
I like that. Well, that's okay because I think they're built to last. So,
That's right.
So there's that aspect of it.
Calgary
as well.
Flames.
Yes.
Was the team that I selected. Yes, that is my Western Conference team. However, because I'm not totally, we're not in a hockey market.
Of course.
Myself and two of my buddies
last
year decided that we also needed to adopt a team for the three of us to follow via group text with an agreement that we would go to a home game in 2 seasons after watching it. And we wanted a team, as guys that grew up watching the Indiana Pacers, we wanted a team that was not a bandwagon franchise.
Right.
So, Flames, my Western Conference team.
You have an Eastern Conference team as well?
Buffalo Sabres.
You're starting from the bottom up.
I know,
I'm a big fan of Buffalo.
Great
though,
logo.
yeah.
Great logo.
Having gone there in the preseason, 2 times, 3 times in the last 5 or 6 years? Love my trips to Buffalo because apparently August is the time to be in Buffalo, New York. It's lovely that time of year.
Greg was there for the 2 weeks of fall in Buffalo,
Exactly.
right?
I had another buy it or bull Schultz for you and see if I can dig it up. Oh, here we go. Who wins a championship first? Tyrese Haliburton or Caitlin Clark? So it's kind of a. I'm not even putting it buy or bull Schultz. I'm putting you on the spot for a choice.
Caitlin Clark, because I think it's Caitlin Clark, and I mean this is no disrespect to the Fever in any way, shape, or form, but I think mathematically speaking, your odds are higher in the WNBA.
I bring this in, which is true, 13 versus 30. There were 2 things we hadn't gotten to on the show yet, and let's acknowledge them now in case, because let's face it, the next time that Derek is back in this seat, even if the Pacers were to win, the NBA Finals would be over.
Champion is correct.
So there are 2 things, and you and I talked about one of these things. When the Pacers get up by a game or get up 2-1, I let my mind wonder, what would a parade look like? What would a championship parade look like?
I've thought about it.
Knowing that 18 and a half years ago, we didn't really have a parade. It was below zero. Like people were jumping into the fountain in Monument, which really wasn't. I don't think was on because of how freaking cold it was the first Sunday night in February. So it was very minimal processional driving players into the dome. That's where everybody would go. So I started thinking about a parade and just how big that crowd would be. And I hope there's 2 more wins so we get to experience that.
I asked somebody the other day how many people would be there, and they said 70,000.
No, 500,000.
I'm like,
Yeah.
minimum. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, right?
If we turn out 350 for the Indy 500,
So let me ask you this, Greg. If there is a parade, what's the route? I have my mind on this, but
go ahead. Go ahead. See what you think.
The problem is Cambridge only holds 20,000, but it's got to go. You've got to incorporate it somehow.
Right.
I think you basically reenact the 500 Festival Parade, and you start on North Pennsylvania and come down, probably going past Cambridge. I don't know how. Maybe then you go across Georgia and back up Meridian, and then you go over towards the American Legion Mall between the library and the War Memorial, and that's where the stage is.
Jake, I'm not so sure that we don't just recreate the mini marathon path.
I
and start them downtown and just make it a 6.5 mile. And again, you know this a lot better than me. End it at the Speedway.
Yeah,
and have everybody go to the Speedway.
I wondered about incorporating
and
the
just
Speedway
literally
as well.
take them out Indiana Avenue, take them out to 16th Street, and just go to the track and stop it right there.
Yeah, it's
Where you
hard
can
to argue that.
Yeah, you know, but there's no bigger amphitheater on the planet
Yeah.
than putting them there at the track. The other thing that I wanted to make sure I just kind of acknowledged on the show. And kind of getting back to the Caitlin Clark conversation, you know, I made note of there was an AT&T commercial Monday night that had 3 members of the Oklahoma City Thunder that had Shea, that then had Jalen Williams, and then had Chet Holmgren, the one where they're all kind of wearing a different take on the same attire. I'm like, well, that's cool. Those guys are getting their own commercial now. When's the next Pacers commercial? You know who's in the next 2 commercials? Caitlin Clark, Gatorade, and State Farm.
Right.
That's our star athlete here.
No, you're right.
Caitlin.
You're right. It is Indianapolis. Okay, here's the last one then.
Okay.
To round out the show, buy it or bull, Schultz.
Yep.
Indianapolis is the only city in the United States whose biggest sports star is female.
Oh. Because of the lack of huge amounts of team sports, you want to say buy it. But I'm trying to think about individual sports. But some of those tennis players or golfers or figure skaters or gymnasts aren't associated with a town.
Is Caitlin Clark the biggest female athlete in the United States?
Yes, I think like Simone Biles or Katie Ledecky would be like second or third,
Fair,
and we're 3 years from the next Summer Olympiad.
Is Caitlin Clark the biggest professional athlete in Indianapolis?
Right now, yes.
I would agree.
Yes.
And that's with the Pacers in the NBA Finals.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 games left. We shall see whether or not that, in fact, is 2 games, but we hope so. And as Greg said, if you are going to be there in Game 6, be loud, be raucous, be encouraging, be supportive. If you're watching it, which I know you will be, whatever it might be, at your viewing party, just put them into a Game 7, and then we'll see.
Do you have a scheduled watch party for Thursday night, or is that because are you going to be at the games?
I'm going to be at the game, yeah.
Okay. Are you signing autographs at the game?
No.
Okay.
Listen, if somebody were actually to ask for my autograph, I would sign it, but it's outside of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I've never been asked for an autograph.
I've gotten a couple over the years.
Somebody asked me once to sign a picture at the Speedway that they had, and it was of the 4-time winners, all signed, and they wanted me to sign it. And I flipped it over on the back and signed the back.
Nobody's asked you to sign a picture for Andy Bennis? No. Very random joke.
There was also a dude that pitched for the Rangers that I look like.
Jeff Russell?
I can't remember what his name was. It was a couple years, about 10 years ago, and I was like, oh, my gosh, that does look like me.
I can see him, yeah.
All right, Greg in for Derek. I'm Jake Query. Derek back next week begrudgingly, but he is out east, and we hope enjoying his vacation in Boston as well as like everywhere in the Northeast that they're going. We thank you for watching. Enjoy game number 6 and hope for game number 7. Thank you again to Bailey and Wood, to Chateau Kitchens, and to Hoagies and Hops and Chili Water. Thanks for watching.
At Bailey and Wood, we